Petunias are a beautiful annual that are often associated with container gardening, like what we would find in our hanging baskets or our regular containers. But this trailing variety of petunia can be a very low maintenance solution in the landscape that can create a beautiful ground cover that eventually will turn into, once mature, a blanket of color that can be a standout showcase in any garden. I'm going to talk about these two beautiful varieties today. I'm going to get them planted up in one of our beds, and you're going to see how gorgeous that bed can be at the end, and you're going to see how we do it, and I'm going to talk about how to keep these happy throughout the season. Got a lot to share. Stick around. So let's talk about some of the benefits of using petunias in the landscape as a ground cover instead of our traditional ground cover plants. They come in whites, lavenders, deep purples, reds, bright reds, pinks. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So for me, that's the number one attribute of this gorgeous plant. Plus, they're relatively low maintenance, meaning we don't have to spend a lot of time with them. I don't need to deadhead like your traditional petunias that you would start from seed. And then lastly, one of the other benefits of using them as a ground cover is that when they do become dense and really thick in their foliage and their blooms, they work beautifully to suppress weeds in the garden, which I don't think anybody can argue with. It's such a great thing when that happens. I always want to make sure that I keep them well watered, but not soaked completely. We don't want to create a bogged down situation. But keeping them on a regular water schedule. Back there in the back bed, I'm going to add a little bit of drip irrigation, and it's going to water according to what our weather is. Now, one more thing to consider is a pest situation. They are prone to slugs and snails. They especially love the blooms, so you might, if you have a situation like that, need to put a little bit of bait down to really deter that from happening. I've noticed that when I use mulch as well, it creates a dry space, and snails and slugs really like a lot of moisture. It's not to say that they won't invade a space that is a little bit more dry, but they're less likely to do so. So I want to make sure that I use mulch, not just to suppress the weeds, but to kind of keep those at bay. And then also, if needed, I put a little bit of organic slug bait down, and that really does handle the situation for me anyways. They are also prone sometimes, depending on your area, to budworms. I've talked about it a lot, I know, before, but it's something that can be easily taken care of. You can spray with BT, which is an organic spray that will prevent them from really taking hold. If you notice all your blooms have disappeared, it could mostly be likely because you have a budworm infestation. And so if you spray for that, then it'll take a little while for your blooms to return, but it is very effective. So let's talk about the two varieties that I'm going to plant up in the landscape today. And I know I talked about these very briefly in a recent video, but I still want to cover what they are because I think it's really important to mention that this brand new Mini Vista plum vein is absolutely beautiful. It has deep, rich foliage that's tight and compact, and then you have those gorgeous lavender pink blooms that have veining that go all the way down into the center of the bloom, creating a little bit of an ombre effect if you're standing back, but when you get up close, you can see that that veining is absolutely beautiful, giving you that darker center that eventually turns light as you get further out in the bloom. So pretty. And eventually these will be completely covered in blooms. Now, the really cool thing about Mini Vistas is that they are extremely vigorous. They aren't so vigorous that they completely will take over, but they will spill a little bit if they're in a hanging basket, and they will fill a rather large space in the landscape. Not as big of a space as a Vista variety from Proven Winners like Bubblegum or Silverberry, but enough to where you'll really have that great coverage. So I'm really excited to use these, and I'll use these probably towards the front because they are a little bit lower, although they will mound a little bit. And then I'm going to pair that with the gorgeous Supertunia Black Cherry. Grown this before, absolutely loved it. It mounded much higher than I'm sure these Mini Vistas will, so I'm going to plant them in between and more towards the back, so I have that mounded or tiered look. So these will be a little bit taller, and they won't overtake the Mini Vistas that will be in front. This way we'll get all of those colors, and you'll be able to see that from any vantage point wherever you're standing in our garden. So yes, this really rich red with that beautiful mini vista plum vein, I think is going to be a really nice contrast and create a bold look in that back bed. That will eventually be a gorgeous blanket of color underneath our roses back there. And we'll get those planted right now. I can't wait to show you the space that I'm talking about. So let's go back there and have a look. So as you can tell, I have plenty of space back here in this back bed to underplant these beautiful roses with some absolutely beautiful annuals that'll last me through the spring, summer, and into the fall. I've gone through and I've weeded out all of my weeds. I'm going to come in with a little bit of topsoil, and hopefully that'll kind of amend this area a little bit, because this ground is rather hard and it's not quite clay soil, but it does kind of harden when it dries out, so it does have that clay feel to it. So I'm going to put a little bit of an amendment there, and then I'm going to plant the beautiful annuals, and then at the very end, to kind of keep those weeds back, I've purchased a little bit of brown mulch that is going to finish off this whole area. So the whole idea here is to set it up for success that'll last me throughout the entire season. This way I don't have a lot of maintenance in this area, and I really don't have to think about it, especially with the drip irrigation that I'm going to be adding to each one of those root balls. It's so amazing to see what a difference we made in this small space with just a little bit of soil conditioner, that really nice dark brown colored mulch, and of course the stars of our show, which are these gorgeous petunias that we planted, that will eventually act as a complete ground cover, filling in this whole area right here. It's amazing when you can use these versatile plants both in containers, hanging baskets, and also in the landscape. And I am so excited to see how these cover, because I've had great luck with these. Now, I added the mulch because obviously I want it to look really nice, but it also will help suppress the weeds. And then when the super petunias take over and they completely fill this area as a ground cover, you're just going to see that beautiful, colorful carpet of blooms right here. It's going to be so nice. Also, the drip irrigation is really important as well. I went through here and I ran drip lines to each one of their root balls, so I don't have to worry about them in the hot summer months, and they will get a consistent amount of water so they never dry out. Now these two colors, I'm really happy with the way they look together, and of course when they do fill out, it's going to look even better. Now if you've used petunias as a ground cover before, I would love to hear your stories of success, and also which varieties you've used. I've had great success with these, and I cannot wait until that beautiful carpet of color is completely taking over the entire bed here. And even if it doesn't completely cover, I have that gorgeous mulch there that will act as a barrier for those weeds so the weeds don't come up in between. So anyways, we really hope you enjoyed today's video, and you know, they are so versatile. They go beyond our hanging baskets and our containers, and they are amazing to use in the landscape as a beautiful ground cover. Until next time, everybody, we thank you for coming today, and we hope to see you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.